Hello everybody, it's Shadow's Reign, and you are awesome. Today we are going to be talking about why PC poor optimization is a problem for consoles. Now this is quite an in-depth one, so if you do enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button below, and do consider subscribing, it is a massive help. But for now, time to troll you with a Christmas themed title card. So we'll start the video by talking about what these consoles actually are. So in essence, they're basically just PCs now. They used to be a lot more different in the way that they were designed, like architecturally, but now they're basically just glorified PCs, mini Steam boxes. So yeah, let's talk about why that's important. So yeah, as I was saying, consoles are now just basically glorified PCs. They're just, the best way to put it is that they're just mass-produced, pre-built PCs. And that is good and bad in some ways. There is going to be a few growing pains, but I do think that this is going to be better in the long haul because it means that games are going to be better optimized for both console and PC. But architecturally speaking, they're going to be very, very similar. All the cores in the consoles will be used towards the game performance, with minimal set aside for background tasks such as downloading the background or your Xbox Live or PSN or whatever that was going on in the background. And then you got your dedicated RAM, dedicated graphics card, you got your SSD in there. Yes, an SSD, which is going to be a game changer for you if you've never experienced one on a PC before. But yeah, very similar to a PC now, and they have closed the gap on PCs for bang to buck. I think for me, PCs have always had a fantastic bang for buck, fantastic value. Now they still do, don't get us wrong, but these next gen of consoles have tightened that gap a little bit. Well, they actually brought it back loads up until Nvidia released their 30 series GPUs and brought the prices down of all the other graphics cards. So yes, PC does remain being a financially viable option now, even though it didn't look like it would be at first. So that's actually really good. But that being said, PCs and consoles are going to be one and the same now. Just, you know, consoles are going to be budget mid-tier consoles. So, well, mid-tier PCs, which is good. So you'll come out and they'll start acting like mid-tier PCs, but what you'll find is as they get older, they will start to perform like low-end PCs, but PCs all the same. So yeah. So the fact that these consoles are now basically PCs, this is actually great news for the PC community in most titles that are to be developed in the future. Obviously not COD for the moment, but which we'll get into that later. But yeah, it's brilliant news for the PC community. So yeah, as mentioned, this is great news for PCs in all other games except Warzone. And the reason for this being is that developers can now make excellent PC ports using fewer resources. So a port, for you console fans out there, basically means when they create a game, they create it for console, and then they port it over to PC, which is basically a copy but not quite a paste. So they add things into it like graphics settings and increase the settings of the graphics. And usually this means that the game is less optimized, which means we've got to require more power to get. So for example, we might need 10% more power to get 1% more performance out of it, if that makes sense. So obviously PCs have always been massively more powerful than consoles, so that's never really been a massive issue. A game that comes to mind is Advanced Warfare. That ran beautifully on consoles, but ran like absolute trash on PC, actually to the point where it would take you 3 to 4 minutes for the game to load up, and that would be on an SSD. So yeah, they won't have to do that anymore. They won't have to put as many resources into it because they can develop for one program and then make it better for the PC, so they don't have to actually change how it's made for PC, which is a really, really good sign. And you're going to find that this actually benefits console players as well, because that means that there isn't a portion of the game's development already taken out for a PC port. That means all of the support that goes into the game will be in for the console, and that the PC's version will just be made on the back of that and not separate to it in a way. So that's really, really good. So yeah, it's going to result in less PC bugs as well. So when games come out being a buggy mess, that's going to happen a lot less often, and by default that will likely mean that happens a lot less often for consoles as well, because for the same reason they're putting all of their developers into one basket. So these things can be ironed out a lot more consistently in development. Now also, games are going to be built with PC in mind now. Again, better for both consoles and PCs here because they're not putting in as many resources. So when the games are being made, they can start making them for PC. Stuff like Cyberpunk and The Witcher, these games are made for PC but are ported to consoles, kind of. So that kind of means they're developed with all the high-end hardware in mind, and they make an inferior version for the consoles. You'll find that more games will start to come out on this development cycle just because you can make your PC version and then just take out the assets you don't need for the console ones. So by that might be graphical assets that you can't use, just take them out. You don't have to copy them and then add them. Just take them out. And it's going to be so much easier for them to make it. You're going to find that games that have a 2 or 3 year development cycle like Call of Duty's are going to benefit a lot from this. So yeah, I think that's really exciting. Another thing which console people might not like as much is that crossplay will become a standard. So that's going to be because you are basically a PC now, and it's going to be a lot easier to have cross-network integration because you pretty much are on the same platform. You just have a different, it's just a different title, a different name. So it's really exciting for that. You know, crossplay is enabled. You're going to have a lot more games supported from the bat. For example, Apex Legends didn't support it straight away. I think that's only just starting to support it now. So that's a bit mental, but you'll find that the games are going to have longer lifespans. So if you play a niche game, like for example, mine's Titanfall 2. I love playing Titanfall 2. But it's hard to get a game on PC. Well, it's not hard, but it takes a little while. You can queue for 3, 4, 5 minutes when I just want to be straight in. But the fact that games are going to be coming out likely cross-play as a standard means that the player populations are not going to die anywhere near as quickly, and you're going to be able to play with people from cross-platform, and I think that is a very exciting thing for everyone. So yeah, now let's move on to the next section. This video is based on how it affects Modern Warfare's Warzone though, because it's on Warzone engines. So the problem with this is that it runs like absolute crap, so I think you need a little bit of a understanding of how it runs on PC. A lot of you, I appreciate, are on consoles, and I'm not one of those people that go on about being PC master race. I mean, I say it as a joke, but I don't mean it. I actually don't really mind what you play on. I only play on PC because it suits me personally. I've always been a video creator, so it's just been worth having a gaming PC instead of having like a game console, because I can just get a better graphics card, which in turn helps my editing and helps my gaming performance. So it just makes sense for me. But for some, it doesn't, and that's why they get consoles, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But let's just talk about why Warzone's engine on PC is a problem. The first thing I've got to mention about Warzone on PC is how inconsistent it is. I've not changed my hardware in about 4 or 5 months. I did change my hardware hard so I could stream, so I got myself a GTX 2070 Super. I got one for a good price. I didn't buy one new, don't worry. And I also got myself a Ryzen 3900X, which is like at the top of a line CPU for streaming. And any other game, it runs 144 frames a second, no matter what. But it's a bit of a strange one with Modern Warfare because it doesn't. Now, when I'm not streaming, when I'm not doing anything, it will record, well I say record, it'll play at a solid 120 FPS, which is fantastic. But sometimes it'll just decide to say, nah, fuck you, I'm gonna do 30 FPS and see how you like it. And I find that really bizarre because there's absolutely no reason why it should be doing that. How very dare you? Why you take away performance all of a sudden? Like, what does that matter? I mean, I know this why it's doing it, because it doesn't know how to detect VRAM and RAM properly, which that blows my fucking mind. It really does. That a game developer with a multi-billion-pound game who has been making games for, you know, a good side of it, well, over a decade, if not longer, and you cannot make a game which works. How do you not? Oh, it really annoys me because it could be so much better. Warzone could run so much better. The way that Warzone's built, it doesn't need to be an intensive game to run, but it is. Every other Call of Duties are typically very easy to run. Even the ones that had massive bugs, when you're actually playing them, they played well. With the exception of Ghosts, that was a bit funky. But they've always played well. But this one doesn't. This one is so inconsistent. It'll just crash for no reason at all. I'll not be recording or streaming. It'll just be like, nope, crash. Sometimes it won't even log in. You get server queues when the servers are dead. It's so strange, and the fact that it costs you a lot of resources to run it. Now imagine being a content creator and you add an extra factor into the mix. So now you're recording, say, using your Shadowplay. Now you're recording using OBS. Oh, it does not like that at all. Now, everyone who's making, not even people who make content, people who just want to record funky clips, it's gonna pester you too. If you just want your 10-second clip of you throwing a Molotov and you are getting like a squad kill of 4, fantastic. You're gonna create a more unstable system, and that is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. It should not be doing that. Now, for me, when I'm trying to be recording everything I play, I can be on stream, and the stream for the first hour or so will be running at a smooth 90 FPS, which is about normal, because I always max all the settings out, because I like, you know, having you something pretty to look at, because it's sure as hell not me. So I like the game looking good. I like the game performing good, which is why I've got decent hardware. I saved up a long time to get that hardware, so don't think I've got a lot of money, because I don't. I save up long and hard for this performance, and when I'm not getting that performance, when there's absolutely no reason not to be getting that performance, it really boils my piss. But it just really annoys me. Another thing is that you get constant. A meme on the channel which I mentioned yesterday is increased system performance and stability. Every single time an update comes up with that, there is going to be a massive issue. Usually it's inconsistent frames, it drops frames for days, no reason why. I just don't fancy running at what I can do, mate. Have 30 frames a second, suck it. Now that's mental. And also, as soon as it says that, you get demon gun glitches, you get things where the game will just tab itself out. My favourite one, I say that ironically, is I'll boot the game up, and I'm on a 1440p monitor. I'll boot the game up, and it'll boot in 720p. What? How is that even possible? And then it'll have 50% resolution on top of that, so the game's in 360p. What the hell is that madness? What the hell is causing that issue? It's just absolute mind-boggling how they just don't do it. Now, this is an Infinity Ward problem. Infinity Ward do not update their games properly as they should for PC. PC is an afterthought for their games. It's all about the consoles for Infinity Ward. Treyarch, Sledgehammer, they've always made decent PC games. Now, they've had their problems as well, don't get me wrong, but at least they run. Blackout ran fine. I could record on Blackout absolutely fine on a GTX 1070 and obviously a much weaker card, and it was fine. But you can't do that on the next game up. That's mental. Don't even get me started on the fact on how big the game is as well. That's absolutely ludicrous. And it feels like every single time I want to use a kill streak or every time I want to open a door, I've got to download a 20 gig update. It's absolutely ridiculous. There is some positive sides to this, however, and that is down to the fact that Modern Warfare's engine will have to improve if it's going to be based on the engine that it's on now. It's going to have to, because console performance just won't cut it anymore, and they're going to have to optimize for it, which means they're going to have to optimize by default for PCs. So let's just talk about how that's going to be forced to improve. So yes, this might actually be a blessing in disguise for PC users. The problem is that if we go over to this way of thinking with the consoles, is that the PC community and the console community are going to have the same problems at first. There is going to be growing pains, but this is a good thing as well, because that means that Modern Warfare will actually have to give a damn about their PC performance, because it will directly impact their console performance, which I think is a very, very, very good thing for us. So yeah, it will force them to fix consoles, which in turn will fix the PC issues, and I think that's good. I do, however, think it's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think the same that with the same state of hacking. I think hacking is going to get worse before it gets better. System performance is going to get worse before it gets better. The idea that you might have two different types of weaponry in Warzone, so you might have Black Ops weaponry and Modern Warfare weaponry in the same game of Warzone, that's a bit mental. But yeah, there is a lot of positives in the long run, but I think for the first year, I think it's going to be an absolute shit show how this goes. But the positives are there. It will be very good for both console players and PC players in the long run. We're going to have better games in terms of how they're created and optimized. Might not be better games gameplay wise, but we can't really control that, can we? But we, you know, it's going to be nice to have a really optimized game, and you're going to find the console games look a lot better earlier on, because a lot of console games that come out early look like trash, and they somehow end up looking better on older hardware, which is mental. But I think they're going to start strong and end strongish. I do think it will go the way of PCs though, in that you have the opposite problem. You'll start having graphics that are really, really good, and on mid-tier hardware, when I say mid-tier, if you're on a graphics card that's about 300 quid and under, after about 3 years, you're going to start noticing that the games are just a bit slower. They've got a bit too much graphic fidelity to be keeping up with at a steady 60 FPS, and I will think that that will be a thing to bear in mind. So I do think that the generation is going to be a bit shorter, unless they actually start optimizing games properly for the first time ever, and that everyone gets optimized games and it runs on that hardware. But that wouldn't be very good for consumerism now, would it? Because you wouldn't be buying any more consoles and I wouldn't be buying any more graphics cards. So you know for damn sure they're going to create a technology that does absolutely nothing, but you need high-end hardware to run. That will happen, mark my words. But yeah, that's just kind of what I think about it, really. Well, that is the end of the video, guys, and if you did enjoy it, please, please, please make sure you hit that like button below and consider subscribing. I'm going to be a bit pushy today and ask that you make sure you share this video as well, please. Massive, massive help. The algorithm isn't really helping us out at the moment, even though we're uploading quite regularly. It could be, I don't know what's causing it yet, but I will be, well, as soon as I find it out, I will be exploiting it. But yes, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. But let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Peace. I nearly forgot that.